welcome everybody. Welcome to our monthly 12-minute session, this time with Immo. We do this session, I host this session once a month, usually on the first Wednesday of any month, where I interview one of the founders that we are working with in a very rapid fire format, where for 12 minutes, I interview the founder, have a number of questions to go through a little bit, kind of what is being built, what's the status, and for Immo to introduce himself, and talk a little bit about his journey with Antler. And this is a live format, so we have a whole bunch of people that are joining us live right now. For all of you who are here live, please feel free. This is an interactive session. Feel free to to use the Q&A functionality. Already as we are chatting, we have a few minutes at the end for live Q&A from the audience directly to Immo. So feel free to load up that Q&A for with any questions that you may have to Immo. But are you ready, Immo? Let's get going.
I'm ready. Perfect.
Cool. So great to have you, Immo. You started your company not very long ago. It's a young company, yet you have you're on quite a steep trajectory. Do you want to say a few words about kind of yourself, introduce NeuroSense, what you're working on, where you stand right now?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm Immo. Nice to meet you. I'm 30 years old, living in Hamburg right now. And by profession, I'm a full qualified lawyer, tax clerk also. Work for major law firms, and before this company, I bootstrapped the company. So this was my first step into entrepreneurship, basically. And with NeuroSense, we are building the platform Logic AI. And with Logic AI, we are automating mass issues in the legal world. So basically mass litigation, e-discovery, but also compliance issues. Our ICPs are more enterprises and corporates, especially their legal departments. Yeah, and that's what we're doing since 6 months now.
Great, exactly. So you've been working on this for 6 months. You and I, we met a little earlier than that, but you're not doing this alone. Tell us a little bit about kind of the team that you're working on. How did that team come together? How do you divide things up?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, basically it's me as a domain expert, and then I have my co-founder Maveen. And he basically built enterprise software his whole life, I guess. Is super techy. I think that makes us a good team because we are so different when it comes to the skill set and also how we approach things. And that idea we basically try to apply also when hiring our first people. So now we have 6 people already in the team, mainly machine learning engineers, and we looked at, again, very techy people who love the product, the technology they apply, because our idea was basically if I throw use cases from the legal world at them, they basically will find a cool solution for it. And so far it works out.
That it does, and you're being quite humble. You're not just a lawyer; you also have a fair bit of technical skills,
Yes.
especially in the AI world.
Yes, I mean, yeah, that's true. Not compared to our machine learning engineers, but yeah, I like to code as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But so I mean, you're a lawyer by training, kind of diving into this in the kind of a lawyer by training who can code, diving into the confluence of this paradigm shift on AI technology and into going into your domain may seem obvious, but what's the actual origin? Where did the idea for NeuroSense come from?
I mean, it was like when studying law, it takes like 10 years. Obviously, it's super manual, right? Everything, also the studying, you even have to write your exams by hand. And I was always annoyed by that. So like the idea just applying a technology to the whole world grew after, like, over time. And then I think the peak was when I worked for Freshfields, one of the biggest law firms in the world. And there was this Dieselgate, and the peak of the Dieselgate, we got like, I think 1,000 lawsuits a day, and had like over 100 students in the basement actually sorting those lawsuits by hand. And back then I realized, okay, this can't be my future, you know, like working in these cases, super manual. and especially because I wanted to code, I wanted to automate. I think that was kind of the origin of the idea and then obviously AI had a big hype, and I just have seen the match there, like the technology around language, like a whole profession around language, and it was obviously a match for me and a no-brainer to go into this all in.
Yeah, and kind of all in, you're now working on this all in for, as you said, the last 6 months. It's been a fair bit of a roller coaster, but you've also gotten quite far. Do you want to say a couple of words on kind of where you stand, and maybe what's the proudest moment so far on that journey?
I mean, where we're standing right now, I think the proudest moment obviously was like signing the first client. We met our first clients through the Antler program. We got feedback from them, and we tried to implement the feedback into our first version. And then I think 6 weeks after we actually built the version on that feedback, we signed him as a paying cooperation partner and client. I think there was like a super proud moment, like a super confidence boost that you actually can get feedback from someone who has a pain or has an idea and then build something, and then you like turn them into a paying customer. And I think that was super valuable for us, for the whole team, because then we had the confidence to run in that direction and to just build and add features and so on. And so far, I mean, now with that client, we had like daily feedback sessions about the product. We have built it until like a 0.4 version now, and now we just got out and approached like a few insurances about specific, very niche problems we can solve, and we're super happy now that we could sign LOEs with 2 insurances, with legal service providers, and we have all these big projects in the pipeline, just because we implemented the feedback. And I think that, like, even retro perspective was like a super good moment for us, just signing it and getting them on board.
No, and indeed, I mean, kind of you're by no means the only team that is working on providing technology kind of in the legal sphere these days, but kind of the commercial traction that you guys are seeing in the short amount of time that you're building on it, and the amount of revenue you're starting to pull in, the caliber of companies that are starting to adopt you, that is very, very cool to see. You talked a little bit kind of about that first introduction coming through Antler. A lot of the people that are joining us today are people that are thinking about joining, or already kind of have decided that they will join an Antler residency. What's been your most valuable moment in that experience with Antler today? I mean, we're still kind of working very closely together, so God knows what will come in the next couple of years, but so far?
I think there was no, like, many people, like, let me start like this. Many people afterwards asked me was it worth it to join Antler? Because we had a team, right? I joined with Maveen as we found each other before the Antler program. We had kind of an idea. We wanted to do technology in the legal space. And then we went into the program, and from the perspective now, I would say it was super valuable because we were pushed into the structured thinking process. I think the pitch Fridays, I think, were super valuable to us because we literally were forced to question our core fundamental ideas. You know, like selling to lawyers, for instance. That was an idea I had in my mind. I mean, I was a lawyer. I wanted to serve myself. I had problems. I thought, like, I need technology in my life. And then getting into the idea, basically, or pushed by you guys, but also like by our first clients we talked to and so on, got the idea, okay, they might not have the right budget for it, or they don't have like a difficult decision-making process and so on, and actually more focusing on the problems of enterprise clients and so on. All these small pivots we made over the program were super valuable for our journey now, and I think maybe one of the reasons for the commercial success we have right now. And what I would advise to everyone who's joining, like, commit to the idea that you're founding a company afterwards, right? It's an accelerator, it's a program, but afterwards you're still building something alone. You get support, but it's still hard. You still have to talk to clients. You have to sell something, and you actually have to build something, a software, whatever you're doing. And I think this idea has to be clear, that you're on your feet afterwards alone in this big bloody world. And then also maybe to sum it up, be flexible, right? So it was super valuable to us just to pivot and to run into different direction we had initially in mind, and actually soaking in all the feedback and try to implement it into the idea, because we are still doing it. It's not that you, after the program, you're done. You have an idea, you have a product market fit, whatever. It's still a journey, and you still have to be flexible and do different stuff. And I think you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And I know that Christoph and you have a lot of intense discussions still, and will continue to do so.
Yeah.
But that is great. I think with that, let's maybe use the remaining 3 minutes that we have to go on a little bit into audience Q&A. First questions have come flying in here from the audience. So maybe the first one that came in is, how did you identify the opportunity? I think kind of since that question came in, we talked about that a bit, but kind of at what point and how did you make the decision to kind of go all in? Now I'm risking everything. I'm kind of taking my tier 1 law firm career that is going to pay me a shit ton of money, throwing that out the window, and taking the maximum financial risk there is.
I mean, from a personal perspective, it was kind of nuts. I got like an offer from a tier 1 firm. At the same time, I had the idea to join Antler, but I think just seeing things long term, and I was vision driven, right? Like I was annoyed by the work I was doing in those law firms, and I wanted to apply tech. And I think, and I read a lot about like how to motivate myself, and I was like, money was a motivator for me all the time. But at the same time, I felt like maybe in 10 years it's different. 10 years is different. I would regret not going all into something I truly believe. And I think on top of that, we had all these customer interviews in the program, for instance, and I just felt, okay, everyone has this problem, right? Every legal service provider is doing stuff manual. Every corporate has like a super traditional legal department. And I said, okay, I don't understand why no one is serving them and their problems, and it might be me. And then the decision was quite easy after all.
Yeah. And the next question that came in here from Bobby is, how do you go about setting targets? Kind of, have you set yourself targets in terms of where's the product in a year? What sales are we going to do in a year? How do you and the team do that?
We typically we look at peers, right? So we look at companies who are a bit more advanced, but also at our same level, and then we try to just do research about it. How much revenue do we need? How much clients do we want to sign? And then we cut that by half and say, okay, let's do that a bit faster. Just go all in. And even if it sounds silly to you, like I felt like if something sounds silly, then just try it. And then even if you only can get to 50 or 70% of it, after all, it works out for you. So, I mean, that is how I approach. We don't have like a super detailed plan about everything, basically.
Okay, there's a whole bunch more questions. Let's just take one last one. We're already out of time, because it's a very short one, because it asks you to, in one sentence, which was the most value you get by the Antler program, coming from Fabio?
It was like painful feedback and honest feedback from you, Alan, from Christoph, from every like team member. I mean, I'm confident about what I'm doing because it's my character, and I go into something and then being ripped apart, or the idea of being ripped apart is a painful process. But that's exactly what I need sometimes. And then you can actually iterate and rethink it, and then being even more confident in the next meeting. So like painful, honest feedback, I would say, from everyone, even from your peers, from other founders. I mean, everyone in the court is super, has their own perspectives, and it's like just being like able to soak that in and to incorporate that feedback is super valuable.
Thank you so much for that. That was in true German lawyer fashion, one sentence. But thank you so much for joining, Immo. Thanks for taking the time. Thank you, everybody in the audience, for joining. The recording of this will go live in the coming days. And have a great day, everyone. Thank you all.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.